To everyone who joined. I would like to begin with requesting Makbul Sahib to start with Tilawat of the Holy Quran.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. I will be reciting Surah Al-Ankabut, chapter 29, verses 44 to 46. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. وتلك الأمثال نضربها للناس وما يعقلها إلا العالمون. خلق الله السماوات والأرض بالحق إن في ذلك لآية للمؤمنين. اتل ما أوحي إليك من الكتاب وأقم الصلاة إن الصلاة تنهى عن الفحشاء والمنكر ولذكر الله أكبر والله يعلم ما تصنعون. Translation. And these are the similitudes that we set forth for mankind, but only those understand them who have knowledge. Allah created the heavens and the earth in accordance with the requirements of wisdom, in that surely a sign for the believers. Recite that which has been revealed to thee of the book, and observe prayer. Surely prayer restrains one from indecency and manifest evil, and remembrance of Allah indeed is the greatest virtue, and Allah knows what you do. Jazakumullah.
Jazakallah. I would like to request everyone to please join me in silent prayer. So without further ado, would like to welcome everyone to the program, and I would like to ask Tasham Sahib to please read out the ground rules and the mentee details of how we will be doing the program and how we'll be actually catering it for everyone here.
Ji, Assalamualaikum Rabbi Saab, Assalamualaikum Amir Saab. Jazakallah, and excited for the program ahead. I think when I got a little bit of a sneak peek of everything, I'm really excited for the questions that are coming up. Just to quickly go over the details of the mentee so everyone's on the same page and how we're going to ask questions. As was announced to everyone, we'll prioritize first and foremost the questions that were submitted ahead of time. That format allows us for us to quickly go through the questions and answer as many as possible. The next item, after we get through those questions, if time allows at the end, we'll have time for vocal questions as well, in which you can raise your hand and ask your question. And just to quickly go over that again, I know many people are familiar with it by now, but you'll click the blue raise hand icon on the bottom left-hand side of your screen, and your name will appear in our queue, and we'll unmute you to ask your questions verbally. Another important point to emphasize is that by the grace of Allah, these programs, there we see large attendance in the hundreds and even thousands. And with that being said, a lot of people have questions. So I'll just request everyone to please try to keep your comments to just 30 seconds. That'll allow us to get through as many questions as possible. Another point to remember and emphasize is that I know that we're not in our mosques, and though we all wish we were, this is still an environment or a program of Jamaat Ahmadiyya. So we should remember that as if we are in the mosque and observe those etiquettes when asking questions or listening to the program. A last point to emphasize, and this is different, is that today's program is being recorded. So I do want to, be open and transparent with everyone that today's program will be recorded, and just keep that in mind. I don't want to do anything, behind your back. A last point to emphasize again is that we will be using the Menti questions for interactive polling. And I think with Namir Sab and with my Rabbi Sab's permission, we can get to those details when we get to those. We'll display the QR code in the link at that time, if that's okay with you, Rabbi Sab.
Sounds good. Jazakallah. Thank you very much, Najib Sahib. So with that being said, wanted to first of all welcome everyone once again. This is episode 2 of Living Through a Pandemic, and again, why are we doing these programs? Is Hazur Ayyadallah Ta'ala Amir Salzizi actually mentioned in this week of the Zur, during these times of the pandemic, check on each other. And this is the National Tarbiyat Department's way of extending and obeying Hazur's command and really providing the platform to understand. And there's a lot of questions when it comes to COVID, vaccines, tarbiyat issues, being in the home. It's a really big dynamic change, and we're tired of hearing about it, but that doesn't take away the problems, the issues, the confusions. So, with that being said, we want to present the opportunity for all of us to be able to really clear our minds, air our thoughts, and ask the experts. So, with that being said, today who will be helping us out is Naib Amir Saab, Dr. Fahim Yunus Qureshi. He'll be helping us all out with the COVID questions, the vaccine questions, anything that comes in our minds, stuff we found on YouTube. We want to make sure we fact check. So, Jazakallah Naib Amir Saab for that. And we will also be having Sadr Khudam Amdi here today. And we really appreciate his presence, his time. We're definitely going to be picking his brain and seeing what is it, what insight can he provide, and what we can take from him about the issues we face as a youth. And you know, our youth is our future, and it's a really, really important raw topic. There's a lot of things that happen at home. So, with that being said, we wanted to make it as anonymous as possible. So, all the questions we've received up till now regarding these two topics, we will ask the experts to do so. So, with that being said, Jazakallah Sadr Sahib, anything you'd like to add at this point?
Alaikum warahmatullah. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajeem. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Just a brief introduction. I recently read a hadith by the Holy Prophet ﷺ that there are two blessings which many people lose, and that's health and free time. And we're truly in unparalleled times right now. We're not traveling as much as we normally do. Many of us are working or schooling from home. We have shorter commute times. Our mosques are closed. We can't eat out like we used to. We can't visit each other as we normally do. And this time will probably never come back again in our lifetime. We simply have more free time. And is this free time a blessing for us, or is it a curse? The general population, subscriptions for Netflix have increased. Time that our youth and general public spend on social media has increased. So is this really true for our youth also? MK did a survey recently, the Khudam al-Ahmadiyya, and we surveyed 115 Khudam about social media, and 94% of our Khudam use social media. 47% of these Khudam use social media to kill time. And another 40% of these Khudam spend 2 to 5 hours per day on social. So are we monitoring the time and content that we spend in front of our screens, that our children spend in front of the screen? Who is doing the tarbiyat of our children? Is it us or is it YouTube? Hazur has given a theme to the Majlis Khudam al-Ahmadiyya USA of Uswa Hasana, the perfect example of the Holy Prophet ﷺ. I'll try to refer to that as the questions come in today. I'll just start with a brief example, and I'll turn it back to you, Rabbi Sab, that the Holy Prophet ﷺ, what would he do at home? He would keep himself busy with house chores. He would clean up, he would milk the goat, he would sew his own clothes, he would take care of ill family members, he would play with his grandchildren. And when he came home late at night, he would not wake up his wife or his family. He would prepare his own meal. This is the perfect example.
Exactly. So I like how you put that. Is YouTube's doing our tarbiyat or elsewhere, and I think that's really powerful. And with that, really coming home to us and thinking about how we're spending time in the same house with our family, but are we spending time with our family? I think that's what you're really alluding to. So moving on to the next part, it's going to be the mentee question. So Najibai, if you can help us out with the mentee, getting everyone ready, and we'll start that off.
Sure, Murabi Saab, and we'll go to this. We'll go to the next slide where we just go over how we're going to use Menti. So you'll use Menti by going to menti.com. That's menti.com, and use the voting code you see on the screen. That voting code will remain on the top of your screen throughout the presentation in case you forget, or you can use this QR code. I'll also send the code out via the chat box shortly as well when we get started. So I'll just encourage everybody to pull out their cell phones, pull out their devices, and join us for these interactive polls. Rabi Saab, with your permission, should we go to the first question?
Let's do it.
So we'll go to the first question now. And the question asks, once available, will you take the COVID vaccine?
So we got 615 people on the call, alhamdulillah, on the program. So let's see what we have to say. Do take part, and this really helps us hear what you have to say. So as of right now, Naib Amir Saab, it's looking pretty promising. You've got about 75% people who say they will. 18.
How many total people have voted, Murabi Saab?
We are at 167 right now. People voted.
Let's see if we can get to at least a sample size of 200. So please keep voting. This is very helpful to us.
Sounds good.
And Murabi Saab, I just sent the code out via the link out via the chat box as well. I think I also sent it out, but so if anyone has trouble getting to it, you can go through the chat box and click the link there to access the Menti slides or the Menti questions.
Perfect, Jazakallah. So right now, Nabi Mursab, we're about 245
Mashallah.
people. So
Excellent.
this is giving us a good feel. A majority of people will. There are some who would say they never would, and 20% who say maybe. So I think a lot of what you will have to say to help us with the vaccines can sway us either to the never or the sure yes side. So
very helpful. Very helpful.
So Jazakallah to everyone for this one. Let's move on to the next Menti question, Najiba, if you will.
Sure. Let's go to the next question. And the next question asks, or says, mRNA technology, this is the technology used in the Pfizer and Moderna vaccines, has been around for how long? I think Nadmir Saab or Rabi Saab is bringing the quizzes now. I should have paid attention more in intro bio in college. But the options are since this year, 2020, since last year, 2019, since the year prior to that, so that's 2018, or for 20 years, since 2000.
Nice. I think so. Yeah, a lot of people are voting for. It's been here for almost 20 years. We're at 215 people so far. Namim So you have
either a lot of people are very right or they're very wrong.
Exactly. I think we kind of set it up that way.
Alhamdulillah. I think let's move on. This is good. We have more than 200 people voted already, right?
Yes, so this is good. I think from here, Nabi Mirsab, help us with the questions. We got a lot of them about vaccines and COVID in general. So I'll hand it over to you, sir. What do you got to do about this?
Jazakumullah for setting up that stage so well, Rabi Saab. I think I have a set of like 26 questions. So I'm going to take the first 13 now. And to answer your first question, yes, mRNA technology has been around for nearly 20 years. So those nice. 70+% people who got that right, it tells you, what an educated crowd, alhamdulillah, we have in this Jamaat. So it's very, very heartening because I don't think those are the numbers nationwide. I'm just going to zip through about first 12 questions. So you know that we are doing justice to all these questions. Number one question is, how do we know this vaccine was not rushed? I mean, how could they make a good vaccine in a year when it takes 10 years for a vaccine to develop? I think it's a very good question. This vaccine was prioritized, but not rushed. What I mean by that is there are 4 key steps. First step is you have to identify the vaccine candidate. That typically takes 2 to 3 years. This time it was done in 7 days because SARS-1 that came in 2003 had given us a lot of knowledge. And that knowledge was used to very quickly use the genome, and the mRNA technology condensed that 3-year period into 1 week. Enrolling patients in phase 1, phase 2, phase 3 trials can take 5 to 7 years because diseases are not as common. You have to go find patients and then patients have to consent. Because you're having millions of cases literally every day, that 7-year process could be condensed into a 3-month process. That's unfortunate that we had so much disease, but that's how we condensed that time frame. It's an investment decision for manufacturing for pharmaceuticals. They don't want to spend billions of dollars into factories if nobody's going to buy the vaccine. That takes 2 to 3 years. And the governments gave them guarantee that we will pay this money for you if no one buys the vaccine. So therefore, that timeline was condensed. And then FDA approvals can take 1 to 2 years. And you all understand the pandemic pressure condensed that to a month, or in some cases, a week. So I don't think any corners were cut, but it was highly prioritized. Question number 2 is, I hear mRNA vaccine can alter our DNA. Is that true? It is not true, because mRNA vaccine never enters the nucleus of the cell where the DNA lives. So it enters the cell, makes the protein, and like a Snapchat message, it auto-destructs in hours. So it's not around for a very long time. Think of it as your landscaping company or your son doing, not your son, but somebody coming and mowing your yard and then going away, never entering the house. So this vaccine does not enter the nucleus where DNA lives, and there is no sign that it can alter the DNA. Third question, aren't there nanochips in these vaccines to track us? I mean, honestly, I'm not going to answer that question. That's conspiracy theory. Whoever thinks there are, the burden of proof is on that person. Tell us the proof, otherwise we're not wasting our time with that one. No disrespect intended, but come on. If they wanted to inject nanochips, trust me, millions of people get a flu shot every year. They did not have to orchestrate a pandemic. They could have done it with the flu shot. They could have done it with measles vaccine. I mean, millions of vaccines are given every year. Why wait for a pandemic? Number 4, why so many people are having allergic reactions to this vaccine? Some have died too. What should we take this vaccine? Very good question. Number 1, no one has died of an allergic reaction, so that is inaccurate. Number 2, I just wanted to pull it up. So far, 1.8 million doses of the Pfizer vaccine have been given, and there have been 21 cases of severe allergic reactions. So allergic reactions happen, not a question about it. We don't want to downplay that. That is real. But the magnitude is 1.8 million vaccines and 21 severe allergic reactions. And that is why when you will get it, they will observe you for 15 to 30 minutes after the shot. You don't just get the shot, get in your car and come home. They observe you for that allergic reaction. Everybody's managed, and we have not had any deaths so far. And I don't expect that to happen either. Next question is, what are the long-term side effects of this vaccine? Any rheumatological or inflammatory issues? Great question again. Typically, of course, we don't know what happens 10 years later, but it's probably not important because research has shown that most side effects of a vaccine, up to 99% of a vaccine side effects, manifest within the first 1 month, right? Now we know that millions have already gotten this vaccine. And you have to compare one risk versus another. Don't think it's a choice between safety and risk. It's a choice between risk and risk. So today, the risk you're taking, that there are nearly 1 million new cases every other day in USA. There are 3,000 to 4,000 people dying every day. I need to give you a pause here. That's a 9/11 happening every day, right? That's like, God forbid, 10 jumbo jet planes crashing every day. These are not just test positivities. These are not just sniffles. These are severe, deadly outcomes. So that's the risk you have to compare with potential long-term. We believe it's 1 in a million, and we believe this vaccine, the benefits far outweigh any risks. Question number 6 is, how effective is this vaccine? Nothing is 100%. Honestly, if you asked me 6 months ago, and I've said it on the record, that I was expecting this vaccine to be 50 to 75% effective, because that's how most viral vaccines are. And that would have been enough to crush this pandemic. Fortunately, the data says that it's 95% effective, which is astounding by the grace of Allah. That's awesome. But there's an important lesson here. 95% means if 20 people got the vaccine, one of them will still get COVID. That's what 95% means, right? 5% gap, which means that if you get the vaccine, nothing is 100%, and wait for those media reports to come out when they will make a big deal out of someone who received vaccine yet had COVID. Well, that is possible because it's 95%. Question number 7, when will regular people, non-frontline worker, get this vaccine? Should I call somewhere to schedule? That's a great question. You can call your doctor, you can call your Department of Health. Just Google Department of Health and add your county next to it. I live in Baltimore County, Maryland. I'll say Department of Health, Baltimore County, Maryland. Go to their website. And I say this because many of us Pakistanis, we come from, or many of us immigrants, I should say, we come from different countries where infrastructures are not as strong. Please, there is no favoritism happening. You should call, check it out. No one knows how long it will take. My gut feeling is that inshallah within 6 months, anyone who wants a vaccine in USA will get a vaccine. And those who are elderly over the age of 70 or with underlying conditions or high-risk patients may even get it within 3 months. So inshallah ta'ala, the goal is to ramp up the vaccine distribution to 1 million doses per day. That is where the country is heading, inshallah ta'ala. So do talk to your doctor, do call your health department and see how you can expedite that vaccine for yourself. Number 8, what to expect after getting the shot. You can expect pain at the injection site. You can expect a little bit of fatigue for a day or two. You can expect to have a low-grade fever. Remember, this vaccine is going inside your body. Let me show you. If this was coronavirus, all these red spikes, that's the spike protein. So the vaccine has a message in your body to make antibodies against this spike protein. It's almost like your body received an email to print 10,000 documents. So when that printing is happening, you can feel fatigue. Don't feel that it's COVID because those symptoms can be similar. This vaccine, the mRNA vaccine, cannot give you COVID. That is a scientific impossibility because there is no virus in the vaccine. It's only a message. It's like an email attachment. But you can feel a little crummy for a day or two. You can take Tylenol. 99% of the time, those symptoms go away. Number 9, which vaccine is better, Pfizer or Moderna? They're both exactly is not the right word. They're extremely comparable. I don't have any vested interest, stock conflict of interest with either one of them. So whichever your doctor, your health department offers you, I suggest you take it. They're extremely comparable. Question number 10, should we take this vaccine? Have you taken it? So yes, a fair question. You put me on the spot, but I would not be sitting here talking to you if I had not, because Allah Ta'ala says, Lima taquluna ma la tafalun. O ye who believe, why do you say what you do not? It's difficult for me to come here and convince you. Yes, by the grace of Allah, I have been seeing COVID patients since March. I go into highly risky COVID cohort units almost every day. I have taken both of my shots. In my hospital, Pfizer was available at that time, so that's what I got. If you have Moderna, you should get Moderna. But yes, the answer is we should take it. And alhamdulillah, to Rabbi Sahib, I thought it was about 75% who said they will take it, right?
Right.
20% who said, maybe I respect you. I think that is very good. It's perfectly fine to ask your questions. It's perfectly fine to get your peace of mind. You should not be forced or compelled into anything. By the way, this is the kind of card that you get after your vaccination. So they'll give you a vaccination card. And the reason I'm showing this is not because we're looking for proof, because my hunch is it's very likely that down the road, such cards or verifications may become required. That airlines may start asking you, show us a card or you cannot fly internationally. Restaurants, gyms, they may open up and government may start putting, this is a hotly debated issue right now in the government among policymakers. I'm sharing that with you. Even though you're not hearing the word mandate, that doesn't mean it's not coming. There's a lot of conversation going on. So this kind of a vaccine card may become sort of an access card for so many things. Just like smoking in this country today. Nobody stops you from smoking, but they will designate areas. They'll say, if you want to smoke, you can't come in here. So whether it happens or not, I don't know, but I wanted to share that with you. What role, next question is question number 11. What role does steam inhalation play in prevention and treatment for COVID? So we don't know if steam inhalation plays any role in prevention. I personally believe it does not prevent COVID. It has no role in prevention. But if you have COVID, of course, if it improves your symptoms, a lot of people would have Vicks Vapor Rub, they'll put it in steam and they'll inhale and it'll ease their sore throat. There's nothing wrong with that. So for symptomatic relief for COVID patients, you can do it, but make sure you're doing it in a bathroom. Make sure you're not doing it in a public place, because any nebulization, and if it generates cough, you can spread more virus because the steam can trigger that reaction. So overall, there are pros and cons. There is no role in prevention of COVID. Question number 12. Is it better to take one dose or two doses? Two doses are better because it's the second dose that increases the magnitude of your immunity and the duration of your immunity. And remember, that's how these vaccines were tried and tested in clinical trials. So we want to be as close to how they were tested. You don't want to change rules after it's approved. Question number 13. How to deal with the situation where we have elderly family members at home. This is a very important, very practical question, actually. And I'll stop here after this, Murabbi Saab. So if you have more time, we can come back to the second segment of 15 questions.
Sure.
This one says, how to deal with a situation where we have elderly family members at home. Other members from other homes like to come and visit them. This worries me for me and my kids. How should I deal with this? That's a great question, and I'll tell you up front, this is a gray area. There is no one right answer. Of course, the ideal answer is do virtual visit. If I'm a machine and if I'm going to give you an ideal answer, that is no socialization, WhatsApp, group chats, Zoom sessions, and that keeps everyone safe. The reality is life is never ideal. So if situations happen and you really have to come together, one chance is stay separated. Don't sit close by, wear a mask. Particularly be careful when you're eating, laughing, because those are the moments when people take off their masks. Much spread actually happens when people take off the mask and they're sitting together and eating. That's a high risk activity. So be careful there. It's now getting cold, but if you're in Florida and it's warm, always meet outdoors. That's always best. Sit in the garden, chairs separated 6, 8, 10. 6 feet is not a magic number either. 6 feet is better than 3 feet. 9 feet is better than 6 feet, right? So sit outdoors, and that's how you can navigate these situations. But the ideal answer is, of course, stay virtual. Murabbi, back to you.
Zakana, we said that actually helps. So there's a lot of practical help questions here, and hopefully, inshallah, we get more time. If time allows, we will definitely look into that. So, Najibai, let's hop on to the next Menti question. This is the third one. And let's shift over to a bit of a tarbiyat, like what's happening in the homes. And what do you see? What do I see? What do we see?